What's next for the financial planning industry? Well, I'm joined today by a man who always has his finger on the pulse, his nose to the grindstone, and his heart on social media. Michael Kitces, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here, Matt.
So, Michael, it's been a tumultuous year already for the financial planning industry.
Yes.
What's some of your impressions so far?
I think we're going to look back in a long time and find this was one of the transitionary years in the financial advisor world broadly and financial planning in particular. The Department of Labor rule finally coming down and into place, I think actually is not necessarily going to kick off new trends, but it's going to be a catalyst that accelerates a lot of trends that have been underway already. But I think we're going to find that the DOL's action really was the catalyst that accelerated all these trends, which means in the coming years, you're going to really see a gap begin to emerge between the firms that adapt to the future that's coming and the ones who are stuck the way that things were and fall further and further behind.
Now, you've been outspoken about how some organizations have reacted to this. Who do you think is doing it right, and who needs to step up their game a little bit here?
I think the organizations that are doing it right are frankly the ones that probably had it a little bit easier. They've already lived in the fiduciary world. The RIA community is certainly going to be much less impacted by the DOL rule because it largely aligns with what they were doing in the first place. There's maybe a little bit of administrative changes they're going to have to go through that I'm not sure the RIA community has realized, but it doesn't disrupt their fundamental business model the way that it has for the broker-dealer community. So to me, the most interesting transition that's probably going to happen in terms of seeing winners and losers separate is how the broker-dealer community reacts. We see some large firms that are really trying to get out ahead of this. Firms like LPL has already been trying to reshape what they're doing to figure out how to comply, and I think a lot of broker-dealers are looking at what they're doing. At the same time, I do see this as a challenge for the smaller broker-dealer community, and not necessarily because DOL has to be something about size and scale, but that ironically, it seems the large firms have been more prepared in investing resources to deal with the change, and small firms may now have to play catch up a little more quickly.
And they were super proactive, the big firms, whereas the small firms maybe are playing catch up. So now could we see contraction in the industry? Could we see a lot of these firms get swallowed up by larger players?
I do think we're going to see a lot of broker-dealers get swallowed up by larger players. And frankly, I think it's going to happen a lot, and we're going to mistake some of it for industry consolidation, and it's not per se. I think what we're actually going to see in the broker-dealer community is two kinds of acquisitions that happen. One is a subset of broker-dealers that say, wow, there's some additional compliance that we need to deal with on DOL. We think we have a future, but it would just be easier to use the resources of a large firm, because obviously compliance is one of those things that does scale in a large firm environment a little bit more. So we'll see some of that industry consolidation. I think we're actually going to see a subset of broker-dealers, though, that frankly are still living the roots of a pure sales-based organization. They don't really focus on advice. They never have. They're going to stare down this DOL fiduciary rule and say, we just can't realistically comply because we're not built to give advice and oversee advice. We were built for product distribution, and that's being winnowed out of the industry. And I think there will probably be some broker-dealers that just throw in the towel and say, we're done. And it's not because the DOL's compliance obligations put them out of business. It's that the push towards advice and away from product-based sales organizations, which has been happening for a long time, is finally finishing them off now.
I have a little game for you to keep things tight, keep things concise, a game of high-low.
High-low.
Some quick things. You let me know if you're buying high or you want to sell low to get away from these things. Let's go.
Fantastic.
Active investing.
Active investing, still on the decline. Most are not demonstrating their value, and now we have the technology to prove it.
Robo advice. Are you a believer, or do you think it's not what it's cracked up to be?
Robo technology, here to stay, transformative in the long run.
Working with millennial clients.
On the rise, not just because technology is letting us serve a wider range of people even more effectively, it's the generation that's going to drive the entire industry.
And last but not least, royal blue shirts. Are you a high or you're low on those?
I'm still bullish on the blue. It's not going anywhere.
Nice. Well, Michael, as always, thanks for making some time for us. It's been a lot of fun, as always.
My pleasure. Thanks, Matt, for having me.
For Investment News, I'm Matt Ackerman.